in Kiev. I'm with Orange now. Nox is taking a quick break, and he's going to be joining me on the cast. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. I mean, I'm done with Diamond matches for today. Went 1-1. Feeling pretty good about this, and it's been a really interesting tournament so far, I believe.
Yeah, we got kind of a meta game developing within the tournament itself because of the ban system.
Oh yeah, the discussions in the player launch are they are really deep about how to ban, how to pick, how everyone's decks lines up against each other. So it's really interesting to see.
So we have Thijs versus Cipher. Have you played both these guys yet?
Yeah, these have been my two opponents today, and I won versus Thijs, lost versus Cipher. Both very close matches. So yeah, I should know these players rather well.
Yeah, so you've played against them. You know what they bring in. You've kind of matched up against them, so you've got a lot of experience in that. So Thijs and Cipher, who would you say is favored from the lineups you've seen so far?
From the lineups, I know that Thijs has brought a lineup that is kind of trying to target Druid. He got Su, he got Secret Paladin, and one more deck that I can't really remember. And I know that he talked a lot about it, how he feels favored against anyone that's bringing Druid to the tournament. And Cipher actually does have the Druid I actually Druid with both Sylvanas and Ancient of War, so I think those two cards are... Ancient of War can be great against Thijs, but I still think that just the fact that Cipher has Druid in his lineup makes Thijs favored in the entire match.
Yeah, he has the Hunter as well, which is a more hybrid variant. Yeah. It's a little different to yours. You know, you got the Stranglethorn Tiger and the Lepinomes. He's running kind of like just the abusives. I don't think we saw any web spinners, but yeah, they've got different lineup. No Hunter's marks that I've seen so far, so we'll have to see how it goes. So Thijs had a few things to say about this event and his experiences as a Hearthstone player, so check that out.
I'm actually pretty good friends with a lot of people in the Hearthstone scene. Of course, my teammates, life coach Radu and Lothar, we are talking a lot with each other. We have a lot of calls, but also besides that, meeting all the, especially European players that we are a bit closer to. It's really cool to meet them on all the tournaments and just hanging out some time. The Hearthstone scene is pretty friendly, and I like to also meet everyone again at all the LAN tournaments. The practice before tournaments goes a bit differently. I always look first at what is the format and what can I expect, and then I look, sometimes they announce the group before. That is a pretty important thing. If you know which players you play against, then it makes a lot of sense to predict that. How my normally practice goes, of course I stream a lot and I play a lot on the ladder. That's one, but I think a second thing, and that is playing against teammates, playing against friends, to play these certain matchups you expect and your opponents. I think practicing against your teammates is something that is maybe even underestimated, and it really helps me a lot to do. In the whole world, and also in this tournament, Colento is always a big challenge for me. We played each other so many times, and we are around 50-50 against each other, but every time we play for almost nothing, I win. And every time we play from the big tournaments or going to BlizzCon, he has an edge. So I will play him again, and I hope that I can give my best a matchup that I always like. There is a place for coaching. In Hearthstone it is a bit different than in other games. There is a lot of strategy behind, but having a coach or an analyzer really helps. I'm doing it a lot of myself now, but I think maybe in the future you will see something where other people can take that spot to make sure you can focus full on the game and can just trust these people to make good analysis, good coaching for you. Coach doesn't really have to be a coach. It can also, but being a player is not only understanding the game. You still have to you need a right mindset. You need to have the motivation. You need the mindset of trying to improve every day and every time, and spend a lot of your time into the game. And it's something that you have to consider for yourself if it is worth it. It takes a lot more from yourself than people sometimes think. And a coach can do a lot, and he can be a super good Hearthstone player too. But it's hard to improve all the time. I have some experience with coaching. I analyze a lot. I analyze a lot with my teammates. I did some coaching even to new players. I help my brother or my friends sometimes with the game. So yeah, I know how to coach a bit, but it's something I like to do for some time, but it's not something I can do all the time.
Thijs touching on how important a team is into building himself as a player, but only like getting that experience and that practicing. You're on Team Archon, you've been there for quite some time now. Have you found your experience being on that team and how it's affected you as a player?
Yeah, I know myself. The tournaments I've done really well in is the events I put a lot of practice in, and a lot of the time that comes from testing together with my team. And I think that's like a really important aspect of Hearthstone. Even though it is something you most of the time play individually, I still think that having teammates to discuss things with is so important to make a successful player.
And Thijs was touching on the role of a coach. I know you had Purple as your coach for a very long time, and now he's America's champion, so it just goes to show kind of the range a coach can take you. Did that Purple affect your gameplay or your practice in any way?
Purple may be the person that have learned me the most of any person in Hearthstone ever. I get to know him really well when I moved into the Archon house, and how he affected my game in just in the first couple of weeks I was there was huge, and I believe that I evolved a lot as a player getting the help by Purple.
That's really good to hear. So coach definitely has a role in Hearthstone. Thijs believes it, and Orange has had experience with a coach. Cipher, on the other hand, is an up-and-coming player. He's been on Fate to Karma not as long as, say, Orange has been on Archon or Thijs has been with his team. So what has he got to say about teams and other things?
I've always been a big Kolento fan. I think he's absolutely top tier. And obviously Thijs right now is incredibly hot. Just qualifying for BlizzCon, being the European champion. Basically I just get to do what I love 24/7, and I get to, the people I practice with are all very good friends of mine, so it's like I'm constantly practicing with friends, It's a very good atmosphere. It's very competitive, which is what I, find a lot of enjoyment in. So Thijs, he's just won Worlds. He's just not Worlds, but European champion, qualified for BlizzCon. He's like the top of every single ranking boards there is. It's like everyone's hoping they're going to get lucky against him in the group stage. I don't think I'd make a good caster. I've got the British accent. There seems to be a lot of British casters, but I don't think I'd quite be good enough at it. A coach, though, I think I would be very good at. I like teaching. I've done some coaching in Hearthstone, and I think, I could do it. But our team has a dedicated coach, and it's very interesting. It's a lot more about setting practice hours, making sure people do what they're meant to be doing, and it's about, keeping notes, targeting what people's flaws are. Is there a certain deck they're weak at? Is it, are they having, mental trouble, in high tense matches, and dealing with that. It's not just about playing and giving feedback. That's what other players are for.
So Cipher, again, has had some experience with a coach. He was talking about schedules and practice hours. Is this something you've experienced as a player?
For me, I've never really had a set schedule for practicing and such. Sometimes you plan to get together with your team, this time of in a couple of days we'll practice this and this. But we never had it planned weeks in advance, like it sounded like Cipher did. I think it's something that could be very important, and it's a very good thing to have, just being very organized as a player and as a team.
If you look at more traditional sports like football and say other kind of sports like that, they have very strict practice schedules. They go training every day when they haven't got matches. Do you think that's something that may come into esports, that kind of very strict team-based practice?
I think it does. It's another step towards taking what you do more seriously, and the better players become, the more steps you have to take to be even better at the game and take more steps towards being a better player. And definitely think that that's a thing that could improve your game a lot.
All right, so you've played both these guys today. They were your only matches. Going into who do you think's going to win?
It's hard to argue. Against Thijs. I think he's on such a win streak right now. He's the European champion. He just teared through regionals. I don't think you can say that anyone is a favorite against Thijs at the moment.
And the bans have come out. Both players are banning the Warrior. We still haven't seen ThijsNL's Warrior. We've seen Cipher's. It was a Control Warrior. And even StarSeries surprised us with a Control Warrior in the last game. Yeah. So that's kind of an ace up ThijsNL's sleeve, I suppose, because no one knows what his Warrior deck is.
Yeah, I talked with Thijs yesterday, and I'm pretty sure he's bringing a Patron Warrior, at least from what I've been able to talk with him about. I think that's the case. But he's also pretty sure that he is not getting to play that deck a lot during this tournament, just because everybody has focused on banning Patron and adjusting their decks towards a non-Patron metagame.
So we were talking about the Druid earlier, which is a deck you think Thijs is trying to target with his lineup. Do you feel his lineup does particularly well against anything else other than the Druid?
With the Hunter, the Paladin, and Sue, I think he can also be pretty well set up against other Paladins. It depends, like, of course you will have to go through a mirror match for something like that, but it seems like his lineup does well against that too.
Speaking of mirror matches, we're going to game number 1 here. Hunter versus Hunter. I'm pretty sure, if I remember rightly, Cipher was running kind of a slower variant of the Hunter, the more mid-range. We have the hybrid from Thijs here.
Yeah, Cipher is playing mid-range Hunter with cards like King's Elec and Double Houndmaster, also big minions like Boom. I know that Thijs is playing hybrid Hunter. I think he has the Shredders and the Hymens in that too, but he is certainly trying to be a lot more aggressive in the early game, and his end game is more like a secondary plan, and he's working more as a mid-range Hunter in the early game.
I mean, some of the older hybrid hunt lists weren't running Boom. They just kind of stopped at high main, low fab, high main. So perhaps, I can't remember if we've actually seen a Boom from Thijs just yet. But we'll have to see. Maybe he'll surprise us.
Yeah, I believe there's the end game that these hybrid lists usually run is just 2 Shredders, 1 low fab, and 2 high main. That's the standard for these sorts of lists. But also, those lists usually don't run stuff like Ardent Horse Rider in it, so it's possible that Thijs is running something different.
So quite an awkward turn here, not being able to develop a minion, forcing the freezing trap. Knife Juggler might get some success here on the 1/1s before he goes bouncing back to Thijs' hand. So, he could use Argent Horse Rider if he really wants to, I suppose.
Ardent Horse Rider actually doesn't look bad at all. You're pretty sure that this is a freezing trap coming from Cipher, because from what I know we haven't seen other secrets. And if the Knife Juggler hits one of the spiders, which is a 67% chance, you also get to kill the other one and leave your opponent in a very awkward spot with a free 1 Knife Juggler that he actually needs to deal with.
And also Thijs agrees with you, hovering over the Argent Horse Rider. The knife actually hits the 1/1, very nice here.
That is huge too, because if it doesn't hit the spider there, it's like the spiders will be able to trade in both into the Knife Juggler, and Cipher will be able to play his own free drop without it on an empty board and be in the driver's seat all of a sudden.
So it becomes a much weaker play once a knife misses and hits the face, but luckily for Thijs, the odds were in his favour, the knife did land there, and he can actually trade if he wishes.
I think it's a heads-up play. He knows that Cipher's most likely turn free play is either Eaglehorn Bow and Animal Companion. And against Eaglehorn Bow, it's obviously better to just trade there, because your Knife Juggler is going to die anyway, and if Animal Companion comes out and there's a Leok, a 33% chance of Leok, that would be devastating for Thijs.
So Animal Companion plays on curve here. Glaive Zuka does clear the Knife Juggler, but it isn't mana efficient, and it doesn't buff a minion. So roll for the RNG of the Animal Companion, or do you go for kind of like the guaranteed clear of the Glaive Zuka?
It's a close call. I think if it had a turn 4 play, I would definitely go for the Animal Companion here, but seeing how it doesn't have a great turn 4 either, I think I would go with the Glaive Zuka. You float mana on both turn 3 and turn 4, but you get more efficient clears on the Knife Juggler, so I like that a little bit better. But we see him going with the Animal Companion, which I definitely can't fault him for, and this is pretty much worst case scenario for Cipher at this point.
Knife doesn't hit the Leok, and Knife Juggler just goes face here. Misha going to protect him from the Leok here. Going in here, Glaive Zuka doesn't seem particularly great, so Hound looks like it has to come down for the... Well, he gets to clear everything, I suppose.
Yeah. Just having one toughness minions in play, if you don't have multiple of them, is really strong in this matchup, because most of the time the one with the board wins, and Hunter doesn't have very efficient removal for minions with just 1 health, except Unleash the Hounds, which you definitely don't want to play on just 1 minion. So having like a Knife Juggler with 1 health or a Leok with 1 health is a lot more valuable than it actually seems at first glance.
And Leok really helped in clearing that Misha. He didn't have to use, say, his face if he wanted to go Glaive Zuka or something. But here, I mean, do you agree with that the first Hunter to start trading heavily generally loses? Is that a good philosophy to kind of just be as aggressive as you can?
Most of the time it is the more aggressive Hunter that usually wins the game. That is the rule, kinda. Especially like in these sorts of situations where one is at 17 and one is at 28. If one player can freely go face and the other one has to trade, the one that gets to go face all the time wins just because of the hero power stacks up. There are some games where the mid-range Hunter tries to trade a lot in the early game and then close out the game with something. A Hound Monster and a Hymen, for example, can totally stop whatever the other Hunter is doing. So there are some plans like that goes against that rule. But looking at how everything looks for Cipher right here, he's not in a great spot for something like that.
And Thijs is on the initiative here. He gets to play his high main first, going first when it comes to turn. So he gets to attack with his high main first. So at 28, he's pretty healthy, right? And this high main can swing for face for 6. He's got hero power, double quick shot. He has a lot of burst in hand. It's looking really bleak for Cipher, I think.
Yeah, I'd say so. Just being the one playing high main is huge, because you'll be the one. If both players hit face for 6, like the one that does it first, it's so significant that will usually win you the game. And I have a really hard time seeing Cipher come back from this spot.
So much burst in Thijs' hand as well. Got Animal Companion to follow up. Hits the piggy as well.
Definitely the one he wants right now. He's so close to just killing Cipher here. He's actually one off lethal, and he knows there's no heal in Cipher's deck, so if Cipher doesn't find some magic way of finding 28 damage this turn, it will be game.
Alright, so Thijs taking the first game there. Faster Hunter wins. A lot of burst damage in hand, even if Cipher had a little bit more health, but unfortunately for Cipher, he couldn't trade forever, right? He was just going to lose to the hero power, like you said.
I think what won Thijs that game was the 3-1 juggler that he get to keep in play for such a long time, really dominate the board early on. Cipher was close to taking it back with having a 2-1 Leok on an empty board, but then Thijs just had too much of a powerful place, and that low fib really sealed it up for Thijs on turn 5.
Yeah, having to trade into that low feb, to tank another 5 damage to face, lose your Leok as well, which was the only thing he had on board, was really tough for Cipher. He never really came back because Thijs just had the initiative from there. Got dropping the first high main, all the burst in hand. It was just really bleak for him.
Yeah, if Thijs was a favorite going in before, I think it looks even better for him now. The deck that Cipher has the best shot at winning against with his Druid is that Hunter, because like sometimes the Hunter can't beat the Innervate stars from the Druid, but both Paladin and the Zulok is really hard matchups for the Druid. So not only does he have to win with his other 2 decks, but he also has that really tough win with Druid left.
And Thijs is playing kind of a mid-range secret hybrid. He's got Tyrion, he's got Dr. Boom, but he also has a Mysterious Challenger as well. I can't remember Cypher's Paladin deck too much. I've seen a lot of Paladin today.
Yeah.
I know Dog's running a more aggressive variant, but Cypher's secret clogged here.
Yeah, we saw even Dog play Tyrion, by the way, even though he ran the Secret Keepers and stuff, and Divine Favor. We see, just as you said, Cipher with one of the worst hands I've seen in a very long time from Secret Paladin here.
And a nice curve for Thijs here. I didn't actually see the secret that went down for him. Did you spot that?
It's a noble sacrifice up for Cipher. A really heads-up play, because he knows that the most common turn 2 play from Thijs will be either Knife Juggler or Shielded Minibot, and then the coin Muster Battle can totally stop that Minibot now, together with the 1/4 Light Justice.
But looking at Thijs' hand, he actually does find the Muster for Battle on turn 3. He's got Shredder into 4. He's got Competitive Spirit to buff that if he manages to squeeze that in somewhere. If the board stays quite packed for Thijs, it's looking really good for both. Well, it's looking really good for Thijs.
Yeah, Thijs was had answered there himself with his noble sacrifice to stop the Light's Justice from hitting, and now Cipher's Seeker would just be procced by the face, which is great for Thijs. Thijs is really looking to take... if Cipher doesn't have a powerful play this turn, I think that Thijs will just be in great shape.
Master for Battle.
Second for Master for Battle is certainly what I wanted to draw there. That's a really great one.
Yeah, he gets to fill up his board even more, and then it's just the battle of the 1/1s. Have you seen a Quartermaster in either of these decks? I don't think we have so far.
No, I don't think we have yet. There is, usually in Secret Paladin, they don't run Quartermaster. There was one list that took rank 1 in Asia lately that ran one Quartermaster and can get a lot of people by surprise, but I don't think that any of the players in the tournament are running the one-off Quartermaster in their Paladin decks.
Cipher trying to figure out what to do here. I guess he just keep trading, I suppose. He needs that kind of turn 6 to come along, where he's got like a guaranteed kind of swing in his favor. But he's going to be just fighting for board time. I think Thijs is still further ahead just because he has more minions, and Thijs had a really nice curve.
Yeah, Thijs had, I would say, like, the best possible opening you can have as Paladin. He has Secret into Minibot into Muster, and now he can choose between plenty of options here with the Shredder, Blessing, or Consecration.
Consecrate clears the last Muster for Battle. He gets to keep the 2/2 as well. Yeah. Shredder doesn't seem too bad as well, because you get the 4/3 body. It's sticky as well, it's got the Death Rattle. But if you want to be super aggressive, just shut the block on it and just start swinging. But Consecrate, is that why you would have went for the Consecrate?
I'm not sure. I know that Thijs has played Secret Paladin a lot, so I trust his decision that Consecrate is correct there. Myself, I would probably have went for the Shredder, just because I think it lines up pretty well against Cipher's board. I guess the Pilot Shredder could potentially be weak against a Blessing of Kings from Cipher, but I still don't think it's too bad. But we see... I can also get behind the play that Thijs eventually went for.
Oh, another Consecrate come to hand. Both Musters have been used, so this won't find an immediate use. Maybe something a little bit later. I guess you've got Shredder Competitive Spirit is kind of an easy turn there, but you could just Blessing of Kings if you feel super aggressive. But does anything punish Blessing of Kings?
Not really. I guess Blessing of Kings from your opponent is actually really bad in return, because the Pilot Shredder would actually survive trading with the Shield and Minibot if Cipher has Blessing of Kings on his own. And you don't want to, as Thijs, you don't want to be the one hitting an 8/1 Pilot Shredder with your Light's Justice, so that's what you could get punished for by playing your own Blessing of Kings. But then again, is it going for the trade here, you think? Yeah, looks like it is. No.
Oh, he's making sure that if this Shredder decides to go into... Oh, actually, is he just baiting out, like, a Noble Sacrifice? Think, I've got a Noble Sacrifice down. It could just be a little bit of a mind game.
That bluff would not do a whole lot, because there's a Light's Justice on Cipher's board, so he can just start with checking for Noble Sacrifice with the weapon. But it's certainly something that Cipher needs to respect at this point, and maybe that swing with the weapon is really important for him.
Now lines up his own Consecrate here. So the secret was Competitive Spirit, so nothing's going to proc just yet.
Oh
wow, so the Light's Justice hit on the Shredder does actually line up quite nicely.
Yeah. I think Thijs is really happy about this Competitive Spirit not proccing here. You don't want it proc on just a single creature most of the time, so having his board clear is actually preferable for him right here.
Shield and Miniball, not what he wants to see. Probably wants to see a Mysterious Challenger, if anything, here. So he's a bit minion starved as far as hand is concerned.
Yeah, he's... I would be surprised if you didn't see Thijs go for the Minibot Blessing of Kings play. Just make a 6/6 and try to get your opponent, but Cipher's Mysterious Challenger lines up really well against that.
Yeah, he's going to be able to fit his deck for at least 3 cards, and he gets a big 6/6 body and a lot of questions to ask Thijs going forward. Thijs really needs to pick up a power play in the next 2-3 turns. Maybe a Dr. Boo, maybe a Tyrion, just to really help him out.
Yeah, something like that. And we also are well aware that Thijs has those things available in his deck. We have seen a Boom, we have seen a Tyrion, we know there's 2 Mysterious Challengers in the deck, so for Thijs there are plenty of outs here, but he is the one that needs to draw them. Cipher is in the driver's seat here.
Oh, Blessing of Kings on his own side as well.
Yeah.
But Challenger, right?
Yeah, it's a powerful play for sure, but it's very hard to pass up. I mean, of a turn 6 Challenger, and I'm very sure that's what we'll see here. It is a close decision. On the other hand, if you want to trade in the Mana Addict into the Minipod, because even though you get Noble Sacrifice up to protect the Mr. Challenger, there's still a 1/1 Light Justice on Thijs' side. So you may want to proc that Divine Shield, so Thijs just can't trade into the Mr. Challenger for free.
It looks like Cipher agrees with you.
Except that it doesn't go for the turn 6 Challenger, but decides to just clear the board with the Blessing of Kings instead. A very interesting line.
Well, you were saying how much of a threat it is, because like you said, the one weapon will proc the Noble Sacrifice, and it might give Thijs the opportunity to clear his Challenger with the shielded minibot. So maybe he felt like he needed to protect his Challenger a little bit more. And then you've got the 5/1 sitting there. But we do know Thijs has a Consecrate.
Yeah. Yeah, the logic is probably something along the lines that Mysterious Challenger is your last threat in hand, and it would be really, really bad for you if the Shield Minibot cut the trade with it. Also, we have seen 1 Consecration from Thijs already, and most of the time Secret Paladin doesn't run 2 Consecrations, but just 1. So that 5/1 is relying on that 5/1 to maybe stick, but we see the 2nd Consecration, but it's not like Cipher really minds, because now he got the Mysterious Challenger instead.
Zombie Chow, not the greatest thing to find this late in the game. Again, Thijs is still kind of top decking an answer here. A Mysterious Challenger is going to pose quite a threat, especially with a Secret Keeper down as well, because it can spread the power of his Avenge around now, which is quite useful. Or do you prefer not to use the Secret Keeper?
I think I prefer to play it. If Secret Keeper gets hit by Avenge, he can trade that with the Zombie Chow and then just go face with the Mysterious Challenger. He isn't able to play one of the secrets anyway, because he got both Redemption and Avenge up from that Mysterious Challenger. So I don't really see the reason to not play it.
Alright, Competitive Spirit finally goes off. This was played quite some time ago. I think turn 5 we had a Competitive Spirit, but Cipher's kind of dealt with the board. Haunted Creeper, again, kind of a low power, low impact minion to be picking up a turn 8. Tyrion would definitely, or Dr. Boom, or Challenger would have just been better.
Yeah, this is the inconsistency we see of the Secret Paladin deck. It does have the powerful plays like Dr. Boom and Tyrion, but on the other hand, you have filled your deck with a lot of early minions and secrets for the Mysterious Challenger. So you're in a very risky position when you go into the late game and top deck mode as a Secret Paladin, and we see Thijs getting the worst end of it than is possible. Like,
ooh, Sludge Belcher. That's gonna create a nice wall between him and this free health. I know the Zombie Chow will heal him.
Yeah, Thijs is so close. Like, he got his opponent down to 3, but it's just not possible to close out this game, I don't think.
Alright, let's see if he actually top decks something worthwhile. Coghammer.
I mean, yeah, that will just not save him. That Sludge Belcher really locked up this game 100%. Otherwise, I guess Thijs could draw something like a True Silver Champion, just go face, but with that Sludge Belcher in the way, I don't see a way back now.
And Cipher's running 2 Sludge Belchers as well with the Secret Keepers, so he ties it up. Cipher 1-1 versus Thijs. Cipher's shown a lot of respect and kind of almost fandom for Thijs in his interview, so he must be pretty happy with being able to get a win so far.
Yeah, I know myself that when I had the first match versus Thijs, and when I walked away with a win there, I was incredibly happy. I even tweeted about it that Thijs is probably the scariest opponent in the field right now.
Yeah, and there's a lot of strong competitors in this tournament. Stan Cifka's shown a very good record so far.
Yeah.
And Kalento obviously as well, a big heavy hitter, Dog from the States. So, a lot of heavy hitters in the tournament. Cipher, an up and coming player from the UK, from my country.
Yeah, he's been showing a lot of promise here, doing doing some plays that I would not have made, but we see it really work out for him. Like the Blessing of Kings on the Mana Addict there really worked out for him and eventually won him the game.
So going into the next game, Cipher gets to change. Thijs can stick if he wants, and it seems like he does.
Yeah, sticks with the Paladin, which normally I don't think is favored against this sort of hunter. But seeing how Thijs has opted to play Zombie Shows in his deck might really swing this matchup in his favor. Zombie Show is just probably like the most powerful 1-drop you can have against Hunter in the entire game.
And look at the curve here, shielded minibot into Coghammer as well. So,
and this is a nightmare for Cipher. It does have plenty of 2-drops, but he probably has to coin this King's Relic here, which just trades with the Zombie Show.
Maybe too many 2-drops, right? He has 4 2-drops. Oh, he
finds another one.
So more 2-drops going into his hand. Oh well.
And he got lots of time to draw into bigger things here, so I think it's totally okay with having this sort of hand this early in the game. He can carry out really nicely with just 2-drop, 2-drop. Then on turn 3 he can play 2-drop, 1-drop, and then on turn 4 probably double 2-drop again.
Yeah, it doesn't really affect Hunter that much because, like you said, well, the early game is really important. So if you can develop these early minions, kind of swarm out a little bit, he'll definitely play in his favour, especially with stuff like Muster for Battle coming down in the upcoming turns, where you'll have a lot of minions to be able to train to those 1/1s.
Yeah, we see, even though Cipher has this explosive and really aggressive kind of start, Thijs early game just matches up so well against what Cipher is trying to do right now.
Yep, that Muscle of Battle's been really good. He gets to clear up one of the 1/1s, and this protects the shielded minibot. Unless a cheeky knife hits it if he goes for that play.
Which I think it will do. The Scientist is likely to pull a Freezing Trap out, which doesn't line up that well against the 1/1 recruits, so I think you just go for the Knife Juggler. You have a second Knife Juggler if you would draw Unleash the Hounds by turn 5, so you could go for that combo. And you can kinda quote-unquote waste Knife Juggler at this point.
Oh, it does hit the shielded minibot.
Yeah.
What are the chances, eh?
Exactly 20%, I'd say.
So, turn 4, Blessing the Kings is could create a 5/5. Coghammer could create a bit of protection, but does Coghammer can generally find something a bit more useful than a 1/1.
Normally I'd like the Blessing of Kings play, but seeing how you can go Coghammer and the Competitive Spirit with 3 minions on board, and just still keep your 3 1/1s in play if you go for the Coghammer, because you can use the Divine Shield to kill the Web Spinner, I think I prefer that line of play.
And it's harder for Cipher to punish this with Unleash the Hounds if the Competitive Spirit goes off.
Yeah.
So he'd need to draw Unleash the Hounds on his next draw to be able to punish the free freeze, and if not, he might really struggle with the 2/2s going forward.
Yeah, that's a very good point right there, that he sets up to be much better against the Knife Juggler Unleash combo, which is certainly the thing he would lose to in the spot that is. But with the Competitive Spirit, looks like it will go off on 3 minions, depending if Cipher decides to go for the Knife Juggler or not. It looks really good for Thijs. Looks like he goes for a Knife Juggler though. He is well aware that he didn't pick up the Unleash already, so he just needs to fight for the board.
Oh, hits the face as well. Very unfortunate for Cipher there, because now he gets 3 2/2s, and the Coghammer's going to clean up this Knife Juggler really nicely.
Yeah, that is really unfortunate for Cipher. Now Blessing of Kings on one on the 1/1s, and it's just looking really grim for Cipher.
Smacks him for 6, yeah. So, So I'm just thinking now, so the Coghammer does deal with the Knife Juggler. The Mad Scientist is going to get freezing, and do you leave the Mad Scientist up?
I'm not sure. If you expect freezing to be pulled out, we actually saw in last game that Cipher is running 1 Snake Trap too, but I'm not sure if Thijs is aware of that. If expected to pull out Freezing Trap, you will be left with just a 1/1 in play, with just a 6/6 in play, I mean, and something like an Iron Beak Owl could just turn that into a 1/1, so I'm pretty sure you go Phaser just because you don't want to risk losing your whole board to something like an Owl. But We'll see what he decides to do eventually.
He plays Redemption over Revenge here. What do you think of that?
I like it. I like it a lot because we were talking about how he expects the freezing trap to get pulled out, and that way, just getting an extra 1/1 back if the scientist trades into this 2/2 is so powerful, because that can just proc the freezing trap, and that's a very, very heads-up play by Tyson, something I really like. On the other hand, if he puts out the Avenge and the Cipher manages to kill both his minions, Tyson is all of a sudden in a spot where he can't really attack with his, what would it be, 9/8.
He's kind of left with nothing, right? 'Cause he's got one card in hand, which would have been a Redemption, but is an Avenge. And he's still top decking, so he's back into the situation he was last game where he's top decking for answers.
One of these small plays that really, really shows why Thijs is considered one of the absolute best players in the world at the moment.
Oh yeah, for sure. So this looks pretty strong. You know, he gets to make a free taunt, maybe stop some of this aggression from Thijs, and eventually Cipher, unless Thijs draws well. Oh, what? Wow, I kind of jinxed that, didn't I?
Yeah, is that what you would consider drawing well? Because I definitely think so.
The caster's curse. So we've had 2 occasions where Noxious has gone, if he gets this card, it'll be really good, and he just draws it straight off the top. The Baron Geddon is a good example of that earlier.
Oh yeah, I saw that one. We also had, going back even further, in the American regionals, we had a lot of times where someone played Boom, and I think it was 3 times during the tournament, the opponent just top deck BJ.
Yes, I remember that. It was crazy. It was like a magnet from the deck. As soon as Boom hit the field, like, BGH would just move straight to the top.
Yeah, that's how you win tournaments. Like, I don't think that any person ever can say that they won a tournament without getting a slightly lucky in it.
A little story about Hungry Crab. Cipher had a situation in Star Ladder where a Hungry Crab interaction actually became a misplay for him because he forgot that his Hungry Crab could eat his Bluegill Warrior. So he could attack with his Bluegill Warrior, then play the Hungry Crab, and then eat it, or something like that. I can't remember exactly. He mentioned it in his video, so it's come back to haunt him in this match here.
For us, it's the Coster's Curse. For Cipher, it's the Hungry Crab Curse.
Yeah. I bet he hates Murlocs. Oh,
the
man.
Murloc's Revenge.
So, kill command and trade? Just no.
Oh no, he misplayed there. He thought it had 1 less toughness and he could kill command it, but after realizing that he couldn't kill command it, so he died, he just decided to concede in a game that was over. Anyway, I would like to call it that, even if he managed to kill the 6/6 there, that 9/8 the Silver Hand Recruit would kill Cipher in very short time.
Yeah, he's still sitting there pretty strong, and Cipher did not have a lot of life left, and Thijs was definitely the driver's seat there. So Thijs is 1 game away now from winning another set. Cipher's got some work to do. He still has a Druid to play.
Yeah. Actually, this might be a lot closer than it seems, because mid-range Hunter is pretty well known for being good against Su, especially because the Knife Juggler Unleash combo is so powerful in this sort of matchup, because if Hunter can get ahead on board, there are very few ways for Su to get back in it. Although, with a hand like the one we see from Thijs, I think he's just going to keep it all. It looks really good in the Rubian Egg with Abusive to proc it early. That is exactly what you're looking for. Basically, it's just a fight for board control.
He could coin out the egg now if he feels threatened by Knife Juggler, but I think a Haunted Creeper is more than likely going to come down. This just protects him. Is it just going to be double Void Walker to kind of stonewall this Hunter?
Is saying to that Web Spinner that you are not getting through here. One of us is going to eat you.
Picks up the Mad Scientist here.
One of the key things that I talked about is how important Knife Juggler Unleash is in this matchup, but then again, you have a Knife Juggler here that looks like it matches up really well against 2/1 freeze in play, so it's definitely a close call here if you want to play which one. Like, there are arguments to be made for each one of these 2 drops, except maybe Snake Trap.
How much value does Knife Juggler have, really? Especially if you have a Snake Trap in hand. So on turn 4, you could potentially set up Knife Juggler, Snake Trap, and Zoo do rely on minion interaction to do their board clears. They don't really generally run stuff like Dark Bomb. So do you think that would come and be a major play from the Hunter on, say, turn 4?
It definitely could it definitely could be. Certainly, Hunter is the deck with combat mechanics in this kind of matchup, whereas Su doesn't really have that, and that is why Hunter most of the time is considered favored.
All right, so can trade here with the Abusive Sergeant. I don't think you really want to commit the other Abusive Sergeant because you kind of need it for the egg. What do you think?
The thing with the Nerubian Egg is that next turn is probably going to be spent playing the Imkang boss. Then turn 4 you can play the egg, and that means that the Abusive being relevant on the egg is not going to be a thing until turn 5. So I think it's reasonable to use it here. Although it is tricky how you do with the scientist and how you trade into that. He decided to kill it last and not trigger this trap, this turn I mean, which could play into something like an Eaglehorn bow from Cipher, but we don't see that from him.
Another thing to consider as well is if this is Freezing Trap and Thijs is willing to set to Abusives, he could potentially just bounce an Abusive back to his hand. He's going to play Incamp Boss on 3 and then Nerubian Egg on 4, sorry, and then on turn 5 he might have the Abusive play then from the bounced.
Yeah, that is totally correct. Yeah, you're right. That's really smart. And probably something that Thijs saw too and just knew that this is what I'm going for. And we see Cipher with the unlucky Knife Juggler once again.
Yeah, he's not really good at throwing knives at apples.
Yeah,
like some players. Yep. Incam Boss gets to trade. He gets to clear everything as well.
Yeah,
really nice.
This is definitely what Su wants to do in this kind of matchup.
Now that's a card I see in your decks.
Yeah, Strangletor Tiger. I think it's a very underrated card in this like in just Hunter decks in general. Like everybody praises Loatheb in Hunter and how good it is, and like sure you can't play 2 Loathebs because it's a legendary, but Strangletorn Tiger is almost as good, and I am totally fine putting a slightly worse Loatheb, like just to play a second one in my Hunter decks.
The Strangleform Tiger does have other interactions, like Houndmaster, it activates Kill Command, it stays in the shadow, so it's very hard to deal with. But also it can activate Ram Wrangler as well on 6 if you don't have a high main play, which Noxious was touching on in earlier on in the day.
Yeah, I think it's one of those cards that a lot of people look at and just think it's unplayable, but is secretly very, very powerful.
Alright, trading in here. And again, if this is no trap, so one freezing, 1 snake.
Yeah, that gives us that information for sure. And I'm not sure if Thijs knew about Cipher's trap setup, but it's looking really good. Especially since there is no Unleash to be seen from Cipher.
And this Sea Giant may be coming down very soon if the board stays nice and healthy. I mean, you can trade 1. You can even pop open the egg if he does want to create more minions to create a cheaper giant. Yeah. So a lot of options going forward for Thijs. Doomguard, so some burst as well.
Yeah, here we got some plays. Oh god, there's a lot of stuff that can be done this turn. It is definitely going to involve the Sea Giant. It's a card that the Hunter only really got the 1 Hunter's Mark to deal with giants, and if you can get it out early, that is huge.
So you could either go for a tap here, or you could Sea Giant Argent Squire, but it's not very mana efficient, and squeezing another tap might bring him close to, say, a Void Caller. Just find Mal'Ganis. So as soon as a Void Caller kind of shows up in his hand, he's going to get a lot of value out of it unless it gets silenced. Oh yeah, please, of course, you played the Argent Squire, it reduces it, yeah, my bad.
He could have even went for the Abusive that turn instead of the life tap, but chose not to. I think he's looking for, he knows that the 5/5 Strangletorn Tiger needs to die eventually at some point, and saving the Abusive certain hand for that can be very valuable.
So we were talking about Strangleform Tiger and its interactions. Here's one here. He couldn't clear it because it wasn't available to be attacked because of the stealth, so now he can Houndmaster it quite safely.
It's still, yeah, it's a good Houndmaster, but the Sea Giant is just like
super scary.
One attack and 1 health. Innkeeper, yeah, the Innkeeper with some great advice there.
Thank you very much, Innkeeper. We didn't know.
You're the real MVP.
The old Innkeeper. I really loved in the NA Championships how the innkeeper called out the players' names.
Oh, that was so cool.
It was really awesome. Yeah. I hope to see more of the innkeeper being involved in some of the productions.
I got a new life goal right there. I need the innkeeper to call out my name at some point.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that too. I don't think I'll ever get there, but yeah, that's quite a good goal to have. So he does actually use the Stranglethorn Tiger to clear the Giant. Too much of a threat at the moment. Ty's just hit face and then kind of looked up, like thinking, "Hang on a minute,
yeah.
Wasn't that supposed to be freezing?"
Oh, this is Snake Trap. How does this change my line of play here? I think he got several lines of plays here. He can power overwhelming the Nerubian Egg and trade into the Houndmaster to trigger the Snake Trap and just trade the 1/1 Ardent, or well, pop the Divine Shield on a 1/1 and just leave Cipher with 2 1/1 snakes in play. He could also just go balls to the wall and then power overwhelming the Nerubian Egg and play Doomguard and go all face. That puts a very, very quick clock on Cipher and forces Cipher to be reactive instead.
Just goes full smoke on the smoke.
I like it. I really do approve of this line of play. He has not decided on the Nerubian Egg yet. He waits to see what it discards. And puts Cipher down to 13.
And if he had popped the Snake Trap, the top deck Handmaster would have definitely have helped Cipher get back in the game. But like you said, he's on the clock now. He's got a lot of power on Ty's board to deal with.
Yeah. He just puts Cipher in a spot where it's like, yeah, you deal with this. I don't really want to bother with your board. But you definitely need to... I'm threatening lethal.
Oh, and, wow.
Cipher sees this, and that's a free one for Tyz.
Very good performance from Tyz. Very heads-up play right at the end there, saying, "You deal. I'm going to take your role. You can. I'll start smoking you, and you have to deal with it." And he takes the win, taking the second win of today. 1, 2, 3. Yep. So I think Tyz is actually 2-1 at the moment.
Yeah, he is, which puts him in a pretty good position for tomorrow because I believe at 3-2 you are through to the top 4. Which means he only has to win one of his 2 matches tomorrow to go through. And I even think that one, I have not done the math on it yet, but I think that one potential 2-3 could get through.
Alrighty, so Ty's almost there. We're about to hear what he has to say.
So, you're the winner. How do you feel? It's the third match for today. Are you tired?
Not really tired. Maybe it gets a bit like at the end, but no, I'm really happy. Had a rough start at the start by losing the first one, but really happy that I take these 2 wins now.
And what matchup from the whole series was most comfortable for you?
I think the last one actually, the Zoo against Midrange Hunter. It's a really good matchup for me. I played it, or I practiced it pretty well, and I didn't expect the Snake Trap. I haven't seen it before. So that was a bit surprising, but no, I think everything went pretty nice.
And what about your decks? Which one is the most effective for you? What do you think?
I really think the Secret Paladin, it is a really interesting list that I'm running, and I really have to give credits to Radu for that, to sharing it with me, and he was also helping me with making the deck. So, but I really have to say that I like the deck. It's really good against aggro, and it still does what Paladin can do the best. So now I'm really happy with my Paladin.
Thank you very much. Congratulations again. And now we will go back to our casters.
Yeah, congratulations to Tyz taking his second win of the day. That was his last match, and he even credited RDU for just showing you how influential having a strong team can be.
I always believe that the G2 is the team that has the best teamwork in the entire scene, and again, like they're just showing how close they are to each other and how much they help each other. It's really impressive to see how much teamwork they have within that team.
So looking at the scoreboards here, StarSeries sits at the top here, 2-0. Tyz falling, going up to second, just falling behind. But StarSeries has another match coming up. It will be our last match of the day. So StarSeries could potentially go 3-0.
Yeah, and he has been winning his matches very convincingly, and I definitely think that he is the favorite going into his next match. Seeing him come out with a 3-0 victory, like if he wins this next match, I think he's actually just secure